Let's talk about the liver today. It's one of the most important parts of healing aside from mindset work. The liver handles processing toxins in the body, and we can attribute many of our symptoms to toxin overload and liver dysfunction, but we cannot just jump right into detoxifying that queen until the pathways in the rest of our body are supported. So the liver consists of three different phases: phase one, two, and three, different pathways in phase two, and we're going to jump into all of that. But first, my name is Caroline. I am the owner of Root Cause Integrative Healing. I'm an integrative healing practitioner. If you're interested in learning more about me and wanting to work with me, I put my links below. I am not a doctor. I cannot diagnose or treat. So everything that you learn from me and hear from me today in this video is all just for educational purposes. So let's get into it. Food and chemical sensitivities can be a sign that your phase one is moving too quick for your phase two, and that your phase two needs support. So a lot of people are feeling a lot of food and chemical sensitivities. So this is why it's so important to run tests, especially genetics, because our gene mutations can show this. It can show how our phase one is running compared to our phase two, and then it'll show things like our homocysteine, if it's being recycled back to methionine properly. It'll tell us what we should and shouldn't be supplementing, gene mutations being active, and we can see how phase one is doing by how well we're handling caffeine. And then we confirm this on our genetics, particularly with a CYP mutation. There's multiple CYP genes, and if there's multiple mutations on there, that's a really good sign that your phase one liver is a little bit sluggish, not doing so well, not keeping up with phase two. And me in particular, I do not handle caffeine very well. It makes me feel sick, it makes me shaky, and my genetics confirm this. We want both of our phases to be in balance. And having a slow phase one means you're really not even getting the detox process started. So your body tends to be storing more toxins, which makes it harder to lose weight. So many people who have the phase one issues might be holding on to more weight. Same with arthritis. So these toxins are being stored in the fat, making it hard to let go. Body doesn't want to let go of that fat. And then with arthritis, it's sending the toxins throughout different parts of our body, and it's causing that pain and the arthritis. And it's so important that we get that process started. We support our body. And that kind of brings up my next point too. So if you are trying to lose weight and you end up losing weight really quickly, so think maybe 50 pounds or more a year, it really depends on the person. The focus should be about 1 to 2 pounds a month. I wouldn't go much more than that, because then we're dumping toxins from the fat cells into the rest of the body, and that causes a lot of issues. That can lead to heart disease, cancers. If you do lose a lot of weight quickly, antioxidants and help with that. So how do we speed up phase one? So we would use cruciferous vegetables and sulfur-based supplements like NAC. Now, that is contraindicated if you are somebody who has sulfur issues, and we would see that with some gene mutations and also ammonia buildup in the body. Some of the other things like B vitamins, vitamin C, our basic nutrient support, because those do hundreds of processes in the body. If phase one is moving too fast for phase two, we can use things like curcumin, so turmeric, capsaicin, grapefruit juice, quercetin, and milk thistle to slow it down temporarily. So that would be like if you don't have those CYP mutations. But then this is very temporary on slowing it down because we want them again to be in balance. And speaking of milk thistle, oftentimes You'll hear people recommend it for detoxing the liver, but if you have a sluggish phase 1, then you're actually doing a little bit more harm than good by taking the milk thistle. It is contraindicated for that. Next, we have our phase 2. The phase 2 consists of 7 different pathways: our sulfation pathway, glucuronidation pathway, glutathione, acetylation, amino acid conjugation, methylation, and sulfoxidation pathways. So these pathways will detox different substances, including adrenal hormones, cortisol, sex hormones, neurotransmitters, food additives, different toxins and medications, different things that we're exposed to in the environment. And they each use a different molecule to detoxify. It actually really coincides with the name of that pathway. So, like for instance, sulfation uses sulfate molecules to detox. High sulfur foods are an example of that. And each pathway can cause different symptoms if there's dysfunction on it. Thankfully, though, we can see a lot of how these pathways are doing on tests, like blood work, organic acids, our genetics again, and our Dutch hormone test. And when there's a lot of dysfunction on one or more of these pathways, the other pathways really have to pick up the slack, and this puts a lot of pressure on the body. And we don't want that. That can create more symptoms. It creates more issues with the symptoms that you already have. We also see broken cycles, such as the methylation cycle. This can cause homocysteine to not be properly recycled back to methionine. And depending on your gene mutations, it can either get sucked down transsulfuration, resulting in low levels of homocysteine, or homocysteine can be high with other gene mutations. Support for phase 2 involves basic nutrients, B vitamins, and individual support for that specific dysfunctional pathway. And then we get into phase 3. So phase 3 is the final detox path. Yay. Final detox phase. This is where toxins leave the body through the urine and the stool. So if this is not properly functioning, toxins will leave through the skin. And oftentimes, this is when people have skin issues like eczema, acne, rashes. And this can happen when the kidneys are not functioning properly. More often than not, we see dysfunction with stool, though, rather than the kidneys. And this is from impaired bile flow. We can support the bile flow with sunflower lecithin. And that's just really the start of supporting phase 3. Because the thing is, we want to support phase 1 and 2 before we get to the rest of the phase 3. So the liver, gallbladder flushes, coffee enemas, and castor oil packs are how we support the rest of phase 3. But we have to do things in order so we're not sending toxins to the rest of the body. And if phase 1 is not really working properly, then the flushes are not going to work properly either. Support for the whole body is really, really necessary. This is probably the most important takeaway from this video, is we have to support the rest of the body with our basic nutrients and other nutrient support, supporting the dysfunctional pathways, fixing those pathways before we can really get into a lot of detoxifying and killing pathogens. Otherwise, they're not going anywhere. We get sicker that way. We have issues with those flushes and the enemas. We have more symptoms that arise. And people wonder why they're getting sicker, because they're being told to do all these flushes and to do all the detoxifying, kill candida, get rid of all the mold. But we're not doing things to support the body to keep those from coming back, to keep the candida in check, to prevent issues, to prevent heart disease, to prevent cancer. That's my little tangent. It's so important. Run the test. see what's going on in your body, start with genetics, and we get into blood work, organic acids, and then the hormones, and then deep into detoxifying, and then we get into the gut. And this is how we heal. This is what has helped myself and hundreds of other people heal by following the program in that order and working on our mindset and our trauma and being the best version of ourselves and finding passion and purpose. If you have any questions, comment below